I watched a lot of movies this year. Now, while I haven't seen all of them, these are my rankings for the 10 best and why. Also, as a side note, this list will not include any streaming movies. It will only include movies from the way they're supposed to be seen, on the big screen in theaters. Number 10 is Bob Marley: One Love. This movie could have been better. It plays it pretty safe in terms of direction and storytelling, and I think it lacked some intent and unique style, as most movies released today do. And that's a theme you'll hear from me from these early picks, is lack of intention. Overall though, who doesn't like Bob Marley and his music? So it was cool hearing his songs, and I think it was a good performance by Kingsley Ben-Adir, but if you want a good watch about Bob Marley's story, his documentary was much better. Number 9 is Kingdom for the Planet of the Apes. Now, I'm a big fan of the Planet of the Apes movies, as the original one is a movie I really enjoy, and Matt Reeves' trilogy is great both movie-wise but also technologically impressive. This movie for me though felt a little soulless. I think Noah is solid, but following a new character after one as good as Caesar is just tough for me. I didn't think this movie was really that exciting, and I wish there was more lore involved for this new world post-Caesar. We get a little bit of it at the end with the humans, so who knows, maybe the next one will be good, but this one was alright. Number 8 is Red One. This one I saw a few weekends ago as it came out fairly recently, and it was actually solid. I still think it was a very 2024 movie, but it was a cool concept. If you like the holidays and like Santa Claus, I think it's one that's worth watching. You either like The Rock or you don't, and he plays his typical character in this one, but it's good because he acts so seriously in his role as Santa Claus's head of security that it makes it funny. Chris Evans was fine in it, nothing really too special about his role. Overall, this movie was alright, but leaning more towards good than bad. Number 7 is The Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare. I haven't fully decided how I feel about Guy Ritchie in general here. I mean, I skipped The Covenant, so if anyone has seen that and thinks it's worth watching, let me know if I should watch it in the comment section. But The Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare was solid. It wasn't amazing by any means, but it was a fun movie. It's witty, it's actually pretty funny at times, and I'd say the story was pretty standard, and if I didn't see this one in theaters, I'd probably skip it on streaming, but I'm not mad that I went and saw this movie. Number 6 is The Fall Guy. I actually enjoyed this movie, and I thought I would going into it. Ryan Gosling is very likable, but I was pleasantly surprised by the action and the stunts. David Leitch comes from a stunt background, so this movie is essentially a love letter to the stunt community, and I thought it was cool. Maybe at times it's a little ridiculous, but that seemed to be the point of the movie. It was funny, and the sequences, especially at the end of the movie, felt grand and made for a fun viewing experience. Number 5 is Gladiator 2. This one is a tough one for me to rank. On one hand, it's just cool watching ancient Roman movies, but because of the first movie with Russell Crowe, this second one fell short for me. I think Ridley Scott recently has been playing it very safe. Like, I didn't feel his direction at all in this movie. There wasn't that many times when I was watching it where I was like, wow, that part was cool. The story is essentially the same as the first movie, but worse, and I thought that they made Paul Mescal's character a little angry for no reason. Like, he hates his mother when she goes to see him in the cell, and then one scene later, Pedro Pascal just tells him he knows who he is, and then the next scene, all of a sudden, he's like saying, I can't lose you to his mom. It just fell a little short for me in that aspect, and obviously I'm being harsh and nitpicking certain things. By no means was this movie terrible. I just wouldn't consider it the best movie of the year at all. Number 4 is Deadpool and Wolverine. Say what you want about Marvel and its quality, but regardless of if you think this was a good movie in a story sense or whatever it is, you can't deny that it was fun. I do think I'm just a sucker for Deadpool because I think Ryan Reynolds is just funny, and seeing him act and crack jokes in the suit never gets old for me. But I thought this movie was a really enjoyable watch. A lot of people on my other videos on my channel like to hate on this movie, which I don't think they actually do. I just think it's like the popular thing to do is to hate on Marvel. But I don't think this movie specifically warrants that much hate. The cameos were both funny and exciting seeing it for the first time, and just seeing all those old and new characters at the end of the movie was pretty awesome. Number 3 is The Bike Riders. I was actually very surprised this movie didn't do better at the box office than it did, and I'm also surprised more people aren't talking about it. Now, it's not necessarily a movie that would make it into my top of all time or that I'd run to rewatch, but the performances by Tom Hardy and Austin Butler were great, but it was really Jodie Comer who stole the show. The fact that this was based on a true story and shows the real life people at the end, I enjoy, and the ending, without spoiling it, was surprising. I feel like not a lot of people actually saw it, so if you did, let me know in the comments if you agree with me here, because I feel like I'm the only one that was saying this movie was actually really good. Number 2 is Furiosa. Mad Max Fury Road is one of my favorite movies, and I think Furiosa was almost just as epic. George Miller just has so much intention and style in these movies, and it makes for some of the coolest action scenes I've watched. I was a little upset to hear that it didn't do too well at the box office, and I hope that doesn't cause them not to make another one. The story, the lore, the world building, the look, and the feel to this movie are all things that I want in a movie. Intention and style. And for the number 1 pick is Dune Part 2. If you've watched my channel before, then you probably knew this was coming, as I 1, love sci-fi movies, but 2, am a huge fan of Denis Villeneuve. I think the first Dune was lacking a little bit in the story, and this movie did not. Obviously, you get beautiful cinematography from Greg Fraser, but it's really the sequences in this film that do it for me, like the opening scene, or the Feyd-Rautha intro, or Paul's ascension into becoming the chosen one for the Fremen. Overall, it was just epic, and I saw it 3 times in IMAX. Whatever Denis does next, which I think it will be Dune Messiah adaptation, I will be there in theaters to see. So here's my final list. Obviously, I've left some movies out. Obviously, I left out Wicked, but to be honest, that movie's just not for me, and that's okay. If you disagree with this list, let me know, and we could use this comment section as a place just to give each other recommendations on what we should watch next.